Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today to talk about my updated arena team in terms of what I've been using. And ever since the inclusion of Old Man Logan into my team, it's been amazing, guys. I've been getting back into the top 5, top 10 rankings. It's been honestly a great opportunity to take advantage of the power cores. Obviously, the arena credits, you can't really do much of them now, but you know, power cores are the most important resource in the game, in my honest opinion. So to have such a blockbuster kind of character once again catapult us back to this top arena ranking, I've been milking it, taking advantage, because with power cores you get the refreshes, energy, opportunities for more character shards, especially new character releases. It's honestly been great. Now, having said that, guys, the big thing for me is that I've always been a fan of arena because you only need to build up, 5 to 7 of the best characters in the game, right? Especially if you guys have been in the end game as long as I have, it does actually snowball. These characters already have value, and then you keep building them up. What I do also like is with the inclusion of Old Man Logan into this team, it actually brings Super Scroll back into the meta, and that's why it's been trickier and harder to obviously play through, especially since Old Man Logan can easily take down 2 to 3 characters, especially if you have the right star levels on them. So as you guys can see right here, these are basically the matchups that you'll see, with the exception here of the one with Mephisto. Typically, I'm seeing variants here of, Black Cat, Robbie. You see the odd one there, Void Knight, and as well as Nightcrawler. But overall, I've seemed to found some success. But at the end of the day, I do want to point out this as well. The difference in how you're going to be winning is going to be down to, how invested are your characters versus the opponents that you're facing. Although I've been punching up sizably against all my opponents, I found anyways the success really depends if you have gear tier 19 on some of these characters, whether or not there's diamond upgrades and so forth. And you'll see that for sure. Once I show you my roster and the teams that I'm using up against these teams here, you'll see that there's a big shift in terms of investment, because I'm still working on bringing some of my characters to Gear Tier 19. I still need the resources, and I'm still deciding, which characters am I fully going through for Dark Dimension 7. But obviously, if you can take advantage of the value from Dark Dimension and Arena, that's ideally the best case situation, especially if you get a lot of use out of them. A character like Old Man Logan especially makes the most sense. Now, let me show you kind of what my defense is. It's the same as what you just shown, but I do want to point out there is a key detail here that you need to be mindful of if you're trying to maintain your defense and your ranking, and it's that Black Knight and Logan, they need to be next to each other. Reason being is because Black Knight is going to grant the taunt at the very beginning, and him getting attacked is likely going to be, it's going to be Super Scroll likely getting the first turn attack, and by him using the rewind on the special, it's going to also trigger and hit Logan. And in doing so, Logan's going to gain that turn meter, and that can give you actually an opportune moment to utilize the special before the other enemy Logan. The reason that's important is because up against matchups where there isn't a Super Scroll, it's actually very, very advantageous. Especially, that's why we see Super Scroll so much now, is because he's basically the counter mechanic to that, right? You probably won't see a top tier arena team without Super Scroll now, because with Logan countering Black Knight, that's why he's become relevant once again. So this is the classic 5-piece that I've seen anyways, unless you're facing up Mephistos like you see here. But otherwise, I got some footage here for you guys in terms of some counters. There's 2 teams that I've worked for myself, the mirror match, and then as well as the Dormammu matchup, and I'll show you the gameplay footage. But as you guys can see here, everyone is positioned actually very, very well. It's usually the Robbie or Skrull that you can switch around with, but typically Apocalypse is in the middle, and again, that's what my defense currently is. But again, now that you've seen what my opponents are, let me show you kind of where my teams are at, right? Apocalypse is the first Gear Tier 19 character in my roster, so very, very excited to bring him in, obviously the Dark Dimension 7, but otherwise I'm still working on everything else, right? Scroll, I need to bring him up. I still need the resources to actually Gear Tier 19 him, but I did actually equip this. This is a big one, guys, because if you can equip the middle piece here, it's a very, very sizable bonus. As you can see, it gave him 200,000 HP, additional focus and resistance. So that's going to be the differentiator as well, making sure that you equip those key pieces. I did the same thing with Black Knight. Robbie, I still need to get him to level 100. I think Black Cat's going to be another strong option, especially with her value in Dark Dimension later on. Other options I've seen is Void Knight, Old Man Logan, but in the footage you see, guys, I also will be using Dormammu, and I wanted to showcase for you guys because you can see how much weaker Dormammu here is, because it's really what he's bringing in with his passive, right? It doesn't matter how strong. If he's stronger, that's great because he can actually be used, but my Dormammu usually dies in the battle anyways. But it's more so him gaining and providing those revives for my team that gives us a fighting chance against some of these meta teams. So that's my team, guys. I'm going to show you now the gameplay footage so that way you can see how this works. So as you can see, my team is only 2.2 million on screen, and that's what I mean by the fact that we can punch up quite sizably, and that's why it's so important to get some of those upgrades on your set characters, because it's gonna be pretty meaningful to get those advantages and survivability. But thankfully I was up against an opponent that wasn't too crazy, but this is standard defense, right? We start things off with Skrull using the special on the right. Again, they have Logan placed correctly, so that's the right way to do it. Their Skrull also got their chance to hit our Logan, but we go first because we got hit first. So now we can use the special on Black Knight, shutting him down, and that's why he's the direct counter. And keep in mind, guys, my Logan is 4 yellow stars and 2, right? Because that's all I could accomplish free to play. But now, ideally, if your Apocalypse could get the first turn, sometimes, again, RNG can play a factor, but you want to be using the ultimate. This is how you're essentially going to be taking down Logan, right? I tried to land the stun on Skrull. It did not work, but it's okay. We want to use the empowered attack on Logan. And if you can take down their Logan, it's going to be putting you in a very, very opportune moment. As you can see here, they also aim for our Logan, so now we're actually even. But the difference is that my Black Knight and my Skrull actually do have a revive, whereas they don't. And that's, again, thanks to Dormammu. It was basically a 4v5, but it gives us a chance because both Black Knight and Skrull can actually be revived, thanks again to Dormammu's mechanics. So this is a very, very easy battle. As you guys saw, I actually messed that up. I actually should have used Skrull's ultimate, but I think I was just getting excited, and I just was clicking fast, and I obviously messed that up accidentally. But regardless, we're still gonna get the win here. But if you use the Skrull ultimate, it would have put these enemies actually in a really bad position, and then follow that up here again with Apocalypse here. And then we do have actually Black Knight going ahead there and finishing off. Tight battle, but again, we messed up with the Skrull. So that's the counter that's been working for me with Dormammu, giving us that second chance here. Okay, and this is my team number 2, and again, punching up once again with my Robbie, except they're a little bit stronger because of them being geared better than that Dormammu that kind of sinks the team down. You can do this as well. This can play a factor in the RNG, but having Robbie and his shutdown is very, very good as well. But you guys notice here, this was opportune for us, and this could be possible because their Black Knight was not next to Logan. That's why it's so important to showcase this. So you can see my Skrull goes first, rewinding them. Also our Logan's gonna go next now because he was attacked thanks to their Skrull. Black Knight gets shut down, but because their Logan was all the way to the far left, we actually have a chance now to go before. So we could do a couple things. You can shut down Logan with the ability block, but I personally would recommend focusing on Apocalypse, just because he has that empowered, Falcon Punch mechanic. So you want to make sure that he's getting controlled as soon as possible. But now, now finally their Logan gets a chance to shut down our Black Knight, but we already got in quite a few attacks, which puts us in a very opportune position here. Now we're just going down the middle there, and you can see how much weaker their team is because we have that advantage of positioning. That's why it's so important, guys. These are the teams that have been working for me. I think this team works better if the positioning is wrong. It's a little bit more reliable than my Dormammu strategy, but regardless, still works because, this team is just closer in team power. So that's the one thing you do want to consider. Finally, when you get a chance to use Logan's ultimate, it's going to be the conclusion here, right? It should be able to wipe out the majority of these enemies. And again, I think the enemies I was up against here too, they didn't have any, maybe only 1 or 2 characters were geared tier 19. And that's going to be the difference maker. That's why I am working on my arena team right now, because I'm trying to eliminate some of the RNG and having higher stat characters. They're going to survive a little better. Maybe even considering bringing up Dormammu. But in the meantime, this works for the time being, with me still being placed in the top 5. So there you guys have it. Those are the 2 teams that have been working for me, and it's great because, like I said earlier, guys, the nice thing about Arena is when you build up, the best 5 to 7 characters in the game, you can punch up sizably. My combat power is quite away from everyone that was shown here. So even if I just show you on screen, I was able to get this recorded before I concluded here, was that my TCP is around 45 million, and the enemies I'm up against, Viashir is 73. We also have Fetty here being at 73 as well. So, I mean, Sefu's being at 99. Like, there's just a huge punch ups here, as you guys can see, right, in terms of TCP. So, it's nice because someone as low as TCP as mine can actually compete and take advantage of the power cores. And again, that's just going to help me build up for future unlocks and so forth from characters, right? So, hopefully this helps you guys out. Thank you for your time as always. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.